Hello, and welcome to the new podcast of Sports Predictions. Maybe a little different this time, but I think we're going to get the job done. And if you have any more recommendations of what we can or cannot do, please jot them down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if we do good on this one, I'll start posting more predictions and maybe even get into fantasy. No fan, I like doing fantasy, but kind of a lot to cover, a lot of teams, a lot of players in different positions. But I think it would be fun if this channel starts to grow. The first game we have on this week is the Lions and Packers. I think the Lions will just ultimately beat the Packers. I think they're just a better team. In the Jordan Love era, the Packers aren't doing so well. Their offensive line is banged up, but it still has not been protecting Jordan Love. I think that's going to be a real big issue with the Lions pass rush this last couple weeks. So I genuinely think the Lions are going to win, and especially after last year when the Lions eliminated the Packers out of the playoffs. And the next matchup we have is the Falcons and Jaguars. Um, Both teams have been good, but also shaky at the same time. The Falcons lost to the Lions last week. They looked terrible. Desmond Ritter looked terrible. They kind of just made the Falcons look silly. But Jacksonville, I wouldn't say have been doing bad, but they haven't been doing good. So I think Jacksonville has more potential and more upside due to what we saw in the preseason and just from last year of what they could actually prove. So I think ultimately the Jags will win this at home. I wouldn't say it's a blowout, but maybe like a 21-14 look or anything like that. And the next matchup is the Rams and Colts. I love watching the Colts, and I also love watching the Rams because my quarterback's on there, Matthew Stafford, traded from the Lions. But I do like watching the Colts, and I think the Colts are an average team. I wouldn't say they're good. I wouldn't say they're bad, but so is the Rams. I mean, what a statement they've made by beating, the Seahawks week one, put up a statement against the 49ers, which are quote unquote like the best team in the NFC now. But I do think it will be an actual really close game and a fun game to watch on TV. So I would think the Rams win it just because I think they are kind of a better team and they have more potential than I think the Colts can. And also that concussion to their rookie quarterback, may not be the best for him. And Stafford's been actually doing amazing with Puka Nacua. So I think it'll be a good matchup, but I think the Rams will take it. And the next matchup we have is the Ravens and Browns. I think the Browns have been really inconsistent. So on paper, the Ravens are a better team. Honestly, I would suppose so. Ravens are very injury prone these last couple of years, so I wouldn't say it affects them a lot, but I mean, it could potentially affect them if a lot of people get injured in this game. But I think overall, the Ravens are a better team and just like better talented team. The Browns like kind of showed like really good against the Bengals, like a top tier team. So we're like, oh, the Browns are going to be a top team or they could beat a top team. But, they lost to the Steelers. And their offense looks shaky. Everything looks shaky on the team. And they're very inconsistent. And I think the Ravens have more consistency and could pull out ahead more. So I think it will actually be a blowout game for the Ravens. The next game we have is the Vikings and Panthers. They're both 0-3 if you really think about it, but like the Vikings like have a better team. Like on paper they have a better team. In general they have a better team. It's just like they haven't been able to beat those teams and the opponents they face, they may not be the easiest opponents, but if you're gonna be top in the NFC North or just top in the NFC, and you're gonna have to win those games. And I think they can against this lower level team of the Panthers. I mean, they're 0-3, but don't count the Panthers out of this because they almost beat the Seattle Seahawks. They looked shaky towards the end of the game, but they stuck with the Seattle Seahawks, and they're also a top NFC team. So I wouldn't say it's a blowout. I would say it's a close game. but I think Minnesota have to win this game to show that they're actually a legit team or could be in the playoffs like everyone predicted them to be or top of the NFC North at that. The next game is the Bengals and Titans. Both teams have been really weird. Like you can't judge any team, honestly. Like in this bracket right here, the Bengals and Titans, they both look weird and I would love to see Joe Burrow actually do something. And I really want to say the Bengals could pull it off and they really should cuz Joe Burrow, yeah, he's dealing with the, injury and I don't think that helps. But I just really hope that this team gets better because every person had high hopes on Joe Burrow and him actually going back to the Super Bowl and beating Mahomes and getting back to the Super Bowl. So I really hope the Bengals win. I think they should win. So I think you go with the Bengals here, but honestly, picking the Titans would not be also a bad choice in my book. The next match you have here is the Buccaneers and Saints. From the start of the season, I think the Buccaneers have been just like a decent team, and I think they have potential, and I think they could somehow make it to the playoffs if they win these type of games like the Saints. The Saints kind of looked good with Derek Carr, but now he's gone, so I think it's gonna limit them. I mean, Jameson Winston's he's been in the league forever, so I think there's potential there, but I think just the Bucks have. It's crazy to think, but just a better type of scheme going for them. And, I just I don't believe in the Saints without Derek Carr or just even Jameson Winston back there. I just don't trust him as a quarterback to do good. And yeah, Alvin Kamara's coming back, but I don't think that really matters. I think the Buccaneers will still take this one. The next matchup is the Dolphins and Bills. I think um the Dolphins, like, record wise, I mean, should pull it off. I mean, I believe both teams could take this. It's kind of really hard because both teams are a top tier team, and this could be like a AFC Championship matchup, like the Super Bowl, if you really think about it. The Dolphins kind of been beating bad teams like the Broncos. They absolutely destroyed them. I just think the Bills have more structural team than the Dolphins. Like, I don't really know how to put it, and I know the Dolphins probably on paper or record wise look better than the Bills, and the Bills did lose one game. But I think Josh Allen at home and the Bills Mafia will actually kick in and finally be like a wake up call to the team or actually win. I genuinely think the Dolphins are going to win. I mean, I just don't know. I really hope that the Bills win. I don't like teams being undefeated. I personally don't like it. I don't think other people like it either. So I hope the Bills win, but I genuinely think the Dolphins will win. So the next game we have here is the Broncos and Bears, and what a bad match to kind of play. I mean, both teams are terrible. I would like to see Justin Fields do more with the team. I Both defenses have the worst run defense. Both defenses suck. Both offenses suck. Think I think the main factor here is kind of experience, and I think the Broncos offense have more experience than the Bears defense. Yeah, Justin Fields been in the league for a couple years and so, but I still think they have potential. I personally would like to see the Broncos to win. Um, Russell Wilson, I think, needs this, or the team actually needs it. But it would be nice to see Justin Fields prove something. But I just don't think it will fit, and I don't think that team's meant for winning. So I would pick the Broncos here. I would say it's a close game, not a blowout, because again, both teams suck. So I'm giving the slight edge to the Broncos, and I think the Broncos are gonna get into the win column this week. The next match we have is the Commanders and Eagles. I mean, what a divisional game. I mean, Eagles haven't been looking so promising, and the Commanders with Sam Howell are actually doing somewhat decent. But I think overall the better team here is Eagles, and I think they're at home also. So I think it would only be right if Eagles fans would have something to cheer for and also just get a win in their hometown. So I would love to see Sam Howell actually beat the Eagles because I'm not a really big fan of the Eagles, but I think the better team is the Eagles. So I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles at home. Or actually, I know I'm gonna go with the Eagles. The next match is kind of a bad match if we really think about it. The Steelers and Texans. I mean, we all project the Steelers to do good or just do something. I mean, they haven't proved anything. The only thing they proved was a win in Vegas, and Vegas isn't really that good of a football team. But I mean, yeah, they beat them, and the Texans, lost against Jacksonville. I I really hope that the Steelers win, and I'm projecting them to win. Hopefully, I mean they have a stellar defense, but Matt Canada just needs to bring something to the offense, or Mike Tomlin needs to take over, or something needs to happen in this offensive room for them to win games. And if they cannot prove that, they will not win a football game. If your offense cannot score, you can't win a football game. So if the Steelers offense scores, I think they will win. But if they don't, the Texans will win. But overall, I hope and believe in Mike Tomlin that the Steelers will win this game. The next match we have here is the Raiders and Chargers. I mean, I kind of like the Chargers. I mean, their record says bad things, but they're a good football team, and I don't think people appreciate them. They don't really have a good fan base. I'm not gonna lie, like Cowboys or the Seahawks, but they're a good football team, and the Raiders have been looking bad lately, and so the Chargers. But let's be honest, Chargers have way better players than the Raiders, and Jimmy Garoppolo was a little banged up. So I think this one should be an obvious choice and go to the Chargers. I'm not saying the Raiders are completely out of it, but I think the more favored team should be the Chargers. And then we kind of have a crazy match, a divisional match, the Cardinals and the Niners. I think the Niners should obviously win this because the Cardinals aren't a good team. On paper, they're not. In real life, they're not. Every which way in form, the Cardinals are not a good team, but yet they still beat the Cowboys last week. And that kind of just blew my mind of like, are Cowboys really that just lucky of a team? Or was it just an off week? And I'm not saying the Cardinals are going to beat the Niners because it's just, to me, I find it unrealistic just how we found them beating the Cowboys unrealistic. But I think the Niners are just a completely way better team, a better offense, a better defense, and I really hope this is an obvious pick. I don't believe in the Cardinals, whether they beat a good team or not, honestly. And the next game we have here is the Patriots and Cowboys. Pretty much. I mean, yeah, the Cowboys lost, but I don't. They're gonna bounce back. Let's be honest. They have a good team. I mean, the Giant or the not the Giants, the Patriots. They have a decent team, and they have potential. They genuinely have potential against the Bills and the Dolphins in their division. But I just don't believe they could beat the Cowboys just yet. Even though it was a kind of a really bad off week for the Cowboys, I just don't believe in them yet. They don't have that potential and like firepower the as the Cowboys do, and that's fair to have. I mean, Cowboys have tons of weapons, and I think they're just gonna overpower what the Patriots have. The last game of Sunday, it's the Chiefs and the Jets. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers was like not in the hospital or like not injured, I think this would just be such an amazing game to watch. But without him being in, I think the Chiefs just easily have this. I mean, without Aaron Rodgers, I don't think the Jets are their full form, and they have weapons. I mean, they have a stellar defense, and that doesn't pertain to Aaron Rodgers. But I just don't believe in the offense to have explosive plays with Zach Wilson. I mean, I do like Zach Wilson as a quarterback, but I just don't think they have what it takes without Aaron Rodgers. And it's sad to say because they had so high hopes with Hard Knocks and everything, but they just don't have the talent to win without Aaron Rodgers. And the last game wrapping up week 4 is the Monday night game, and it's Seattle and Giants. I mean, what a crazy ride for Giants fans. I mean, they've been let down, disappointed every which way in form. And I really like the Giants roster. I mean, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, they have what it takes, but they just cannot win a football game. And it's sad to say. And the same with the Seahawks. I mean, they got beat by the Rams, and it was a nail biter against the Lions, and they beat Carolina. Carolina should be a gimme game for them, but it wasn't. Um, I genuinely think the Seahawks will win this, and I don't see why they wouldn't. But honestly, I think it's a close game. Like, both teams still need to prove something, and the Seahawks proved more to me. So that's why I would believe them to win. But if the Giants need to find something in their heart of hearts, and they need to find a win, they got to play a good team, and they got to beat them, and they have to bring momentum. And I think that's what Seahawks have and what they don't. So I think that's what separates the Seahawks from the Giants. I think the Seahawks will win on the road and be close in record with their division teams like the 49ers. So that wraps it up for our sports podcast for week 4. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Maybe and if it gets popular enough, go to like Spotify or something. But that would do it. If you have any comments or anything like that, or anything to make the channel better, please feel free to comment that down below. And I appreciate every single person that watches it all the way through. And I hope you guys have a safe Sunday and Monday Night Football. I'll see you next week.